you so much for watching my YouTube channel. Super excited. We're continuing our series on the Prodigal Son. And last week we did the youngest son who runs away from home, is reconciled with his dad. Today we're going to look at the oldest son. And it's interesting because when you look at this oldest son, then if you want to read the references for the whole story, you could do Luke 15 verses 11 to 32. But the oldest son is interesting because we don't hear anything about him other than when the youngest son comes home. The youngest son comes home, dad greets the youngest son, throws this giant party. The oldest son is out in the field. And this is interesting because he hears this party going on and he asks a servant out in the field because he's out working and he's taking care of his dad's property, the property family and all that. And he asks the servant, hey, what's going on back home? And the servant says to him, well, your younger brother came home and your dad's thrown a party. And when you read it in verse 28, it says he wasn't willing to go in. He wasn't willing to join the party for the younger son who is now reconciled with the family. So the oldest son stays out in the field. And when he stays out there, the father comes out to him. I really think that's fascinating because you see the father goes out to the youngest son who's coming back and looks like death warmed over, feeding pigs. And now the father goes out to the oldest son, and the oldest son who's out in the field. And what the oldest son says tells a lot about his mindset, his thinking. And the oldest son says to his father, and this is verse 29, he says, look, for so many years I've been serving you, never neglected a command of yours. Yet you never gave me a goat, and so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came home, who has devoured your wealth with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf. And in essence, the oldest son is saying, look, Dad, I did it all right. I obeyed everything you said. I carried out all your wishes and commands. I've been loyal. I've been a faithful son to you. But you never did anything like that. Like you did for him, my younger brother, you didn't do anything like that for me. And sometimes I think for some of us who are followers of Jesus, we might have that mindset. There are some of us, maybe we've been raised in church. We didn't do all that bad stuff. We've said that before in our thoughts, maybe. I didn't do da-da-da-da-da. And we look at the others in the church family who lost the plot and they came back and, they're like stinky and smelly and they have all kinds of problems and consequences from their sin. They deserve that stuff. But appreciate that the older son, the eldest son, the father wants to reconcile the oldest son. And the father goes out to reconcile with the oldest son, not because the oldest son did anything right or did everything right. And sometimes those of us who have lived an honorable, upright life, we have a sense of entitlement. We have a sense of, you owe it to me. I didn't do all that wrong. And so what it comes out looking like is self-righteousness based on our works. We belong in the family because I did it all right. But family, I want to say this to you. We belong in the family of God because Jesus died and rose on the cross for us. Rose from the dead. Died on the cross, rose from the dead. It's not because we did it all right. If we base our relationship with God on our actions, then family, we can lose it too. It's not based on our actions, whether we did it all right or did it all wrong. Our relationship is based on God's love, the Heavenly Father's love for you. And so maybe in your own life, maybe you could look at some things and say, hey, in your own heart, maybe you look and say, well, I did it all right. But your relationship isn't based on what you've done. It's not based on your self-righteousness. It is based on the grace of God and the love of God. And I want to encourage you that when you think about that, let's be careful because, again, I referenced it last week, the youngest son, we don't see any interactions with the oldest son. And I would suspect that the youngest son felt unworthy. But the oldest son, there's no interactions with the youngest son either. The older one never interacts. But I would say that the older one looked down on the younger one because he was a jerk. He dismissed the family and was dishonorable. But I want to encourage you that the oldest son, we never see the oldest son come back into the family, come back into the house, and be reconciled. We do see the youngest one, and we see that based on the father's love. But I want you to see here that the father loves the older son and wants to reconcile. And that tension and the conflict and the anger, animosity that the older son has, the father wants to diffuse that and say, let's base this relationship on love and not on your actions and your behaviors and your moral turpitude. Let's base it on God's love, the Heavenly Father's love for you. So I just want to thank you for watching today. And I really want us, regardless of your position in what you've done in life, good things or bad things, the Father's love for you is consistent and steady. Thank you so much for watching. I encourage you to give some feedback, some comments would be awesome. Love to have you. Man, that'd be fantastic if you subscribe. You can share. I think this is a really good series to share with your friends, neighbors, relatives. Super helpful. And here's our concluding joke. Ready? There's a cop who pulled somebody over, and the cop said, I'm arresting you for illegally downloading all of Wikipedia. What? And the guy who gets arrested said, wait, don't arrest me. I can explain everything. Because Wikipedia. I know. That one's really lame. I completely agree with you. Super lame. But next week's going to be fantastic. Thanks again for watching.